everyone and welcome to the Cogeny tutorials. Today we are going to learn how we can create this animation effect with this multiple color brush. So first we are going to delete this run to clear the running area. Then I'm going to need a brush, so I'm going to use this brush here. I will give it some more color, more font size and some more Y so you can see. Now for this emoji, and which is not the case with all the emojis, you can change the color of this brush. So if you give it another color, then its color will be changed. If you give it some different color, purple, it will be changed. So you can change its color. So we are going to need an array of colors. So I'm going to use an array of colors. You go to the color button here, you check the array checkbox here, then you choose the colors that you like. So I'm going to choose like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 colors. Then after you are done choosing your colors, you hit the add array. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my array index will go from 0 to 4. Okay. Next, I'm going to need move function. So function move, where I can get the animation effect. And as we saw with the previous video, or in the previous video, we will need a timer. So we are going to need a timer, and in our timer we are going to call the move function each 10 milliseconds in this example. Okay. Now when you run, you will not be able to see anything because we are keep calling the move, but we are not doing any, we don't have any change. Our brush is the same. We are not changing the X or Y or the color. Now if I'm going to change the X position, okay, let's see, let's say we are going to increase it by C, and this C is increased each time, and we are going to set the C to 0, okay, or to start with a 0. Then we will have some animation effect where we are increasing the X position of the brush. Okay, now I will delete this code because this is what is not what we want for now, or not our example. The other thing that you can also see, we can change the color of the brush, or we will need to change the color of the brush. So I'm going to choose the color function, and instead of some color, I'm going to use my array of color. So my array of colors. Then I'm going to use to need some index. So I'm going to choose some variable. I call it C in this case, and I'm going to start with C0, and we need to go from C0 to 4. Okay. So I'm going to increase my C, but I'm going to check if my C is less than 4, then I can increase the C for the color. Otherwise, I'm going to set the C to 0. Okay, now let's see what we have. Now if we give it more time, then you can see that we are changing the color of the brush, or each time the function is visited, the brush is appearing with a different color. You can make it slower, or call your function each 5 milliseconds to see more. Okay. Now let's go back to the 10 milliseconds. The other things that I want to do is to add some X position. So I'm going to change the X position of my brush. So I'm going to start from, or I'm going to add some variable called X. And this X, the initial value of X, I will start from 0. Then I'm going to increase my X each time I'm visiting the function. Okay. And what I want to do is to change the color when I reach to the end of my X and go to my next Y position. So I'm going to first to increase my X position. So if X is less than so for my screen, I'm going to do from X0 to X700. It depends on your screen. You can go from X0 to X500. So it depends on wherever you want your brush to stop. So I'm going to do from X0 to X700. So if X is less than 700, then increase the X by 1. Otherwise set X to 0. Okay. Now let's see, what do we have here? Okay. This is still not we exactly want. So we are going to need to change our code more. So in my else condition, if I reach to the end, I also want my color to be changed when I am in a next Y position. So I'm going to change my Y position. I'm going to include the changing the color in the else statement here. So I'm going to enclose this. Okay. Okay, inside this else statement. Okay. The other thing, we want to change the Y position. So I'm going to change my Y position with C. So I'm going to multiply my C by 100 and add another 100 to it to increase or to change the Y position. Okay, so this effect that you are seeing is from the previous example where we have where our Y is not changing, but when I'm going to run, my Y is going to be changed. Now let's run, and the Y value in this case will start from 0 or from 100. Okay, because we are adding the 100 here. And for each color, we have different Y position. Okay. Now let's, the other thing that we need to do is to add white or whatever is your background. Now my background is white, so I'm going to add or to draw white rectangles to hide the previous brushes, so only the last brush will appear here. Okay, so I'm going to draw white rectangles. So let's choose the white here, and let's choose the rect here. Now for my rectangle, the X position is the same, X of the brush. The Y position, I'm going to choose the same. I'm going to add just 10. Then for my X and Y, it depends on the font size of the brush. So let's make it 100. For this, we can do 120 by 80. Just something to cover your brush. Okay. So you will have this effect. Now you can increase the timer. You can make it like, let's make it 0.5 millisecond to have faster or to see the effects. Okay. Or we can also change the step. Before that, let's see. Now when we reach to the end or to the fifth color, it is going back to the to color 0, because we are saying set the C to 0 and start over, nothing to stop the timer. Now you can also, instead of putting the C to 0, you can also, or you can add, well, if you have more than one statement, as we say, we need the block statement, we need the curly brackets. If we have only one statement, then we don't need the curly brackets for a block of code. So you can add a stop timer. Now in this case, it will do the brushes for just one time, and when it reaches uh, to the last color, it will stop. Okay, maybe, oh, so I put here, I put this in the, it should be here. Okay. The idea is very simple. You are just hiding the previous brushes with the white rectangles, or with whatever is your background. So if your background is gray, then you need to hide them with the gray rectangles. Okay. Now, as you can see, when we reach to the end, we are not having the animation go over from the beginning and set the Y to 0 again. We are stopping here because we added a clear interval here, or this stop timer button here. I hope you enjoy this example, and see you in the next video. Have a good